Hey folks, let's Scamo Outdoors. How y'all doing? Hey, here's something that's been a subject of discussion for a long time, and especially when you see the explosion of tournaments, bass tournaments, and they're just the weekends are bombarded. These lakes are bombarded by people, and a lot of them are tournament fishermen. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And so the topic tonight is what's hurting bass fishing. Well, as a previous tournament fisherman myself, I've been inside of it. I've seen it from the firsthand uh, point of view. Um, Now, do all these tournaments hurt the bass population? Well, personally, I think to some degree. I can't put my finger on the level of harm that they do, but every tournament we had several. The tournaments I fished in would have anywhere from 60 to 120. I think the biggest one I fished in was 123 boats. And me and my son took second place in that. But was 123 boats. And now that's USA Basin and the local circuit from other clubs that have open tournaments. I'd fish all the opens that I could, plus my own club tournaments. And so you know, like I said, anywhere from 60 to some probably more than 123 boats. Anyway, there's always dead fish. Okay, you've got minimum of 5 fish. Now some tournaments have got it. They narrowed that down to 3 fish. You put them in your live well. You run them around the lake all day long, 8 hours, and just merely catching that fish really stresses them out. Especially when you bring them out of deep water. When you bring them out of deep water, that does all kinds of stuff to them. And but anyway, every tournament I've seen dead bass, and yeah, I don't know. I don't remember ever losing one. Now that might be a little on the arrogant side, but I really don't remember if I did. I had great live wells in my boat, and I left them running most of the time. And it recycled lake water. Mind, it didn't just aerate the water it was in. They sucked it out of the lake and returned it back to the lake. So that was one advantage I think I had. But a lot of the newer boats are like that. Back to the discussion. In a month's time, there's hundreds of bass that die now. That's probably thousands of them that die across the state of Ohio every tournament season. And a female bass, she'll have I think the numbers. Let me see here. Is that on my phone? Do I still have that? Yeah. A female bass can have up to she can have from 2,000 eggs to 100,000 eggs. Okay, they're egg layers. Then the male guards the eggs, and then the fry they hatch, and then the male guard them for a little bit, but and he'll eat some of them too. But there's a tremendous amount of pressure on the bass. But I think tournaments have some kind of effect on them. And another thing, now, not too many anglers will tell you this, okay, but I just got to be straight up. A tournament, you got a lot of tournaments now where you catch the bass, you take the picture, you put the bass back in the water right there. Okay, a lot of your bass tournaments go on during spawning season, April and May. Excuse me. Personally, that's the worst time I think to ever have a tournament. That's the best time to catch your biggest fish. But I really believe it's the worst time to hold a tournament. Okay, especially a tournament where they throw the fish in the live well and haul them around all day and take them to a weigh-in. I think those are the most devastating tournaments on the circuit, is those that bring the fish back to the weigh-in. Now you got your kayak fishermen, and there's your FLW, I think it is. And I think they got a judge in every boat where they weigh it. It's by weight. Each fish they weigh and they turn it loose right there. I think those are a lot less devastating tournaments. When you catch it, take a picture of it, or you weigh it and record the weight and turn it loose where you caught it. That fish, whether it's a male or a female, when you release that fish right there where you caught it, it'll shoot out of there, it'll recover, and it'll go back to business, wherever it's at in that egg laying cycle. Okay, until the next guy catches it. All right, but he's immediately released. Okay, so the stress is not near nothing on that fish than one that's hauled around all day. And another thing too, what I think hurts the bass fishing is in a tournament, you got 100 fish or more turned loose in one spot. That's a dock. Okay, and if it's in the spawning season, you take that female or that male, you take them, especially the female, you take them out of the area where they was fixing to drop their eggs, or the males where they was fixing to guard the eggs. Okay, you take them clean out of where they chose to spawn, and you haul them mile, 2 mile, 5 mile down the lake, weigh them in, they're all stressed out, and you release them in a place that's not familiar. Some bass make it back to where they was, some don't. Most probably don't. There's studies, all kinds of studies on all this. And I watched them. And, but anyway, I think that adds to the problem with bass fishing. Is now I went to St. Clair Lake in Michigan. Okay, now the smallmouth bass in let's see, March, April, and May, you can't keep them. You can't keep none of the smallmouth until after the after June, sometime in June, second week of June, something like that. So they're protected during that spawning season. Now you can catch them and turn them loose, but like I said, they go right back. If your boat don't move or moves maybe a little bit, they go right back where they chose to spawn. Okay, and so no harm, no foul there. The fish will recuperate. He'll get his wits about her or him and go back to business. Okay. And like I said, the tournament boats that haul them all over the country, it just puts so much stress on them. A lot of them die. What degree of harm does that do to the bass population? I really can't say for sure, but it has to have some kind of negative impact on these bass. So, the first category tournaments, the tournaments that haul fish back to weigh in, the tournaments that take pictures and weigh them and turn them back loose where they're at. Okay. And so I choose, I would say the better ones are the ones that turn them loose right where they're at. And like I said, they recuperate and they go back to business. Okay. And a lot less of them, in my opinion, I don't know the numbers, but a whole lot less of them die from the stress. But I've seen it myself. Like I said, I've seen a lot of fish die where you haul them around, take them to the weigh-ins, back into the ramp. Okay, that definitely kills more bass. Okay, now, one thing I got to say, been around all these tournament fishermen for all these years. I can probably count on that hand right there that agree with the biologists. And, they're not fishing. They don't know. They come out and shock a few, and then they just throw them back in and take off. Blah, 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 but they don't know what they're talking about. Not many tournament fishermen agree with the biologists. Okay, now I agree with a lot of what the biologists say and do. However, my second category of what hurts bass fishing, and this is an area where the biologists should know better. Okay, but I think a lot of the problem is from the state standpoint. A lot of this that I'm about to get into is to generate revenue for the communities, to bring new people into the fishing world, sell more license, sell more tackle, bring more tax money into the local government. And the biologists play a big role in that. And this is where they should buck on this. They should I don't know about putting their job on the line, but they need to have a big powwow about it. Let's put it that way. And what it is putting these hybrids, putting hybrid fish in places they do not belong, releasing muskies and pike where they do not belong. Okay. Your hybrid fish, your hybrid stripers, okay, and your muskie programs, okay, and I believe they're introducing these foreign fish, okay, to unfamiliar waters does a lot of damage to all fish populations. Okay, not just bass, but all fish populations. And as far as I'm concerned, there should be no such thing as a hybrid. Okay, what's the problem with hybrids? Okay, the problem with hybrids is they grow fast and they eat anything. And when they put these hybrids in a lake or a river, they're what you call fingerlings. Okay, that size of your finger. Okay, and a lot of times, or normally when they do this, it's early in the spring. Okay, or it's very early in the summer when you got little bass running around that's 4 or 5 inch, not even that long. Some of them 3-4 inches long. Hybrids are eating machines. Okay, but when you throw fingerlings um, into the water, you dump 1,000 fingerlings into the water. They by nature know, hey, I'm a little guy. I am subject to be eaten myself. Where do they go? They go where the bass fry is, and they go where the other fry is, right into the weeds, right into the brush piles. They go in there to hide from the big predators, and lo and behold, what's in these places? Your small bass, your crappie, your bluegill, and they're eating machines. All they do is constantly eat and grow, and keep those. Do away with hybrid fish, man. Um, you see people cruising around slow idling for your muskies. Here in Ohio, mainly it's muskies. And you get down south, well, and up north it's pike and muskie. And them are cold water fish. They don't belong in Ohio. Okay. They're northern fish. They belong up north, Michigan and on up. Okay. Um, but Wisconsin, places like that. But anyway, let's go back to the hybrids. But these hybrids, they just eat everything they run across, and trying to survive when they're thrown in the water, they go straight to cover. And like I said, what do you got in that cover? You got the small bass. Let's just stick with bass. You got the bass fry in there. Okay. And the male garden nose fry, he can't keep them all from being eaten. So thousands of them are being eaten by these hybrid fingerlings that they're throwing in these lakes, rivers, or whatever. Okay, what's the devastation level? I can't tell you, but it has to have an impact on the bass population. Now, around here, years ago, back in the 60s, got a great bass lake, Rocky Fork. They started a muskie program in that lake. All kinds of people. It drew all kinds of people muskie fishing. And some of them bad boys was 3 foot long and longer. They done really well. Okay, but once again, and they moved it to a lake closer to me, Cowan Lake. They don't do it there anymore they don't do it at Rocky Fork anymore, Cowan Lake. They don't do it there anymore. They brought it to the big, huge lake, Cedar Creek. Okay, it's deep, it's cold water. There's a lot of cover there, not much grass. So the bass population is pretty poor there, even now, as far as I'm concerned. All right, but they started. They quit the muskie program at these other lakes. Okay, and they brought it to I'm gonna say my local lake. Okay, and they started turning these fingerling muskies loose in there. Okay, and now muskies reproduce. Okay, so you've got a constant supply each year, I should say. Well, it is a constant supply of fish that will just eat anything they can get in their mouth. We fished a tournament there, one it was a Tuesday night tournament. His wife, a friend of mine's wife, it's teams. Friend of mine's wife had one on there about 2 pounds, a bass. Here come big muskie. She fought it until she got it out of its mouth, and but she weighed in a fish that had teeth marks in it from that muskie trying to steal her fish. they like I say, they grow and grow and grow, and they just eating machines, man. These muskie just eat anything in sight, and they will try to eat just like a bass. They'll try to eat something as big as they are sometimes. Okay, they shouldn't do that. Where muskies are not a native species, keep them out of there. I don't want to, and I don't want to see them in there. Okay, what kind of devastation does that have? Impact does that have on the largemouth bass population? It's got to be some. I don't know the degree, but common sense. You just got to use your common sense. That has to have an impact on the bass population. Like I said, whether it's hybrid fingerlings they throw in the water or whether it's musky fingerlings they throw in the water. These small fry, they go right into the same cover that bass and other fish go to, and they spend their life just eating everything they can get their mouth on. There has to be some kind of biological impact in these lakes, and I wish the biologists would quit doing it. But it's revenue. It boils down to revenue. Okay, just like the forward-facing sonar and the argument all about that, it boils down to revenue. I can't tell you what kind of impact all these things have. The tournaments, the hybrids, and the muskies. Now, in my area, we don't have too many hybrids. Okay, maybe a couple reservoirs they've had some kind of program, but mainly them are down south. But still, yet, what kind of impact does these three things, bass tournaments, hybrid fish, and muskie, okay, programs that they start in my area, with the exception of hybrids. They may have thrown some in Caesar Creek. I don't know. It's deep enough to hold them, big enough to hold them. Okay, but there has to be some kind of impact that these programs have on the bass. And when you put them all three together, I think that's a whole lot of pressure just on the bass alone. Okay, like I said, they have from 10,000 to, let's see, let me get this correct. Female bass can have from 2,000 to 100,000 eggs. Okay, that sounds like a lot of babies. That sounds like a lot of fry. Okay, but every fish, they'll eat their own. The other fish will eat other fish's fry. So these little fry, and they have a heck of a time growing up to where they can get away. A lot of pressure on them, and then when they get, man, how many of us has caught little bass 5, 6, 7, 8 inches long on a lure, not much bigger than them. So and a lot of people, they'll throw in the global warming and climate change and all that. I'm the kind of guy where that's bunk. Okay, I do not. Climate changes all the time. Okay, my climate changed between this morning and today. Climate change it's simple. It's weather change. Okay, it's the shifting of the earth. Okay, all that changes. There's no doubt about it. Global warming, no such thing. Okay, That's a totally different subject, and I may get onto that. People they blaming devastation on that when it comes to the fishing world. And, I don't buy into that. But anyway, folks, that's my 2 cents. And put your comments in the comment box. And but that's my 2 cents on from a tournament angler's viewpoint, an ex-tournament angler's viewpoint. Okay, I fished every weekend just like these pros. Okay, I could go and practice anytime I wanted. I fished probably back then. I fished as much as any Bassmaster pro did practically. Maybe not hour for hour, but weekend for weekend. I put just as many hours as they did in. Okay, I seen the impacts of the tournaments. Okay, back to biologists real quick. Biologists, for the most part, do know what they're talking about. It's science, but they do succumb to the pressure of providing money to the system. Okay, but I wish to goodness that they would quit these hybrid programs and that they would quit releasing muskies, okay, in the state of Ohio in these lakes where there ain't supposed to be no muskies. Okay, Caesar Creek was just a small creek, smallmouth bass fish in it, weighed up to your chest, and you're looking for the deep holes, just like any creek. Okay, and it run through an old community. This house here, house there. I forget, it's thousands of acres. Okay, look it up. Caesars Creek State Park in Warren County, Ohio. And so the state bought this little community. They bought all the property up in that little community. It was woods and it was hills and hollers. Okay, they dammed this little creek up. That portion of the little creek, they dammed it up and they flooded that whole area. Okay, and there goes Caesar Creek. There wasn't no muskies in there. There wasn't no hybrid bass in there. Okay, it was catfish, largemouth, smallmouth, bluegill, suckers. But here they come with their muskie program, throwing those big old nasty muskies in there. If you want a muskie fish, I got no problem with you muskie fishing. But go where muskies are naturally born and raised. Go where the muskies live. Okay? Stop these programs for these hybrids and these muskie programs. And there's probably other elements that contribute to the hurting the bass population. Now, a lot of people, another controversy that's growing is the 2-stroke motor versus a 4-stroke motor. I'll make a video on that sometime because that's something else I've seen firsthand. Okay, the nasty 2-stroke that dumps water and oil into the lake, and for the most part they do. But the impact from that, we'll get into that in one of my videos. I'll get into that. But anyway, folks, that's my that's how I feel about it today. And I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in the ring on that. But now, can bass fishing be sustained? Will it be here if the world lasts another 50 years, 100 years? Okay, will the black bass, the largemouth bass, and his cousins, will they still be here to fish for the public, or for the tournament fishermen? Now, another subject is eating bass. Okay, some people say that, and I'll say this before I go. Some people say that you're meat eaters. There are more people eating bass today than eating fish than there ever was. I don't believe that. That cannot be true. You go back to before the live well. Ranger was the first boat with the working live well, 1960, early 60s, 63, whatever it was. Go back and look at some of the videos right on YouTube of the early bass fishermen. You see them with coolers full of 7, 8, 9 pound bass, deader 4 o'clock, 6 of them, 8 of them in a cooler, deader than a mackerel. And they're going back to the weigh-in with 6 dead bass, 7, 8, 9 pound bass. Okay. Before the live well, your meat eater was the tournament fishermen. They didn't throw all them fish away. They took them fish home and fried them up. Okay, and not only that, people was a lot poorer back in then. 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s and 60s, right up to now. Okay. But I contend that you had more fish eaters, regardless of what it was. I just I'll go out on a limb here. From 1975 back to the turn of the century, back to Adam and Eve. Okay, pick a date, pick a generation, pick a decade. I don't care. From 75 back, okay, they were eating more fish than you can even imagine. Okay, and this is just for the sake of argument, from 1975 to now, okay, most people go to McDonald's or Arby's or somewhere to get their fish sandwich, or Walmart, Kroger's, all right, because there was a big push in the tournament all the years I was fishing. Big push in tournaments. Don't eat the bass. Don't eat the bass. Don't eat the bass. And they would get so mad, and I've seen it. They would get so mad and angry. These tournament anglers would, when they seen John Q. Public walking up the bank with a couple bass on a stringer. Oh, they're eating up my sport. Eating up my sport. But if you go back and you watch some of my other videos about the live scope, I never fell into that category. Okay, it's like a smoker becoming an ex-smoker. They crucify somebody that smokes. That ain't me. All the time I was a tournament fisherman, hey, if you want to take some bass home and eat them, you pay taxes just like I do. Them is your fish as much as mine. You take you some bass home and eat them. I did it myself. Okay. I never eat the big ones. I stayed in the slot limits on the lakes. Every lake's got a slot limit. Keep it in that slot limit. Biologists put that there because that's what they need taken out of that lake. Okay. You don't know more than these biologists, Mr. Tournament Fisherman. You just think you do, but you don't. Okay. So all these things have some kind of effect on bass fishing. But I'm here to tell you, Les Scamo's personal opinion, the meat eater is the last one that hurts the bass population. And it's simply because your average law-abiding fisherman, citizen will stay within those slot limits. Okay. And the biologist will tell you this is what needs to come out of that lake to help maintain a healthy bass population. All right, folks. Hey, there it is. This is Les Scamo. Please watch this, like and subscribe, and leave your comments. And I don't censor my comments. I want to hear what you say. And to me, that's censoring speech, and I will not do that. This is Les Scamo. I love you. God bless you. Go to church on Sunday. All right, this is Les Scamo from Scamo Outdoors, and I'm out.